They didn't need whips or chains to enslave an entire society. All they needed was repetition. Carefully designed messages delivered at just the right moments. Not through violence, but through subtle engineering of thought. In Aldous Huxley's vision of the future, the most dangerous weapon wasn't a gun, it was a whisper. Children were conditioned as they slept, absorbing phrases that would shape their beliefs for life. Everyone belongs to everyone. A gram of soma, and all is well. They grew up repeating these mantras, never questioning their meaning. Because when you hear something enough times, it stops being a message. It becomes a truth. A silent framework that defines the boundaries of what you're allowed to feel, want, and dream. And so they were taught that happiness meant sameness. That pain was unnatural. That to question the system was to invite chaos. Now take a look around. Does that sound like fiction? Or a distorted reflection of our own world? Today, the mechanisms have changed. We no longer learn through sleep teaching, but through a different kind of hypnosis, one we willingly participate in. The screen. Every scroll, every ping, every push notification, it's not random. It's a design. A system engineered to capture your attention, trigger your brain chemistry, and slowly shape your behavior. When your phone lights up, your brain lights up with it. A little dopamine hit, just enough to keep you coming back. And you don't even realize it, but the more you engage, the more you're being taught. Taught to want validation, taught to avoid discomfort, taught to chase the next tiny spark of pleasure, and avoid anything that feels heavy, uncertain, or real. And here's the most dangerous part. This conditioning doesn't feel like control. It feels like freedom, like choice, like convenience. But is it? Because the result of this invisible conditioning is unmistakable. We now live in a time where people fear silence, fear boredom, fear their own thoughts. We've grown so used to filling every second of the day with stimulation that the absence of it feels unbearable. People can't sit quietly in a room without reaching for a screen, can't go on a walk without headphones, can't have a conversation without checking their phone every few minutes. We've lost the ability to be present, to reflect, to go deep, because we've been taught, not directly, but through reward and repetition, that deep thinking is dangerous, that introspection is wasteful, that suffering has no value. But it does. It always did. See, when you remove all forms of discomfort from life, you don't create a paradise. You create a prison, a soft prison, with no walls, no guards, no bars, only comfort, only pleasure. And that's what makes it so effective. Because people will guard their comforts like their treasures. They'll silence any thought that threatens their sense of ease. They'll reject anything that reminds them that true freedom requires effort. And that's how control works in the modern world. No dictator needed, no chains, just a society that has forgotten how to think, how to feel pain, how to be human. Now ask yourself, how much of your mind truly belongs to you? And how much of it has been shaped by the systems you didn't even know were training you? In the next chapter, we'll dig deeper. Because when pain is eliminated, something else is lost along with it. And what's lost might be the very thing that makes life worth living. Imagine a society where no one ever feels sadness, where disappointment is treated like a disease to be cured instantly, where boredom, frustration, and discomfort are considered signs of dysfunction, not normal parts of the human experience. At first glance, it sounds like a dream, a utopia, a place where suffering is obsolete and every emotional wound has a fast-acting cure. But beneath the surface, something vital begins to decay, our inner strength. When you take away every obstacle, every moment of discomfort, you're not creating happiness. You're creating weakness. Aldous Huxley saw this future with unsettling clarity. In Brave New World, people didn't rebel. They didn't need to. Why fight a system that gave them pleasure on demand? Why question life when a pill could erase all anxiety and sadness in seconds? Soma, the perfect drug. No hangovers. No consequences. Just immediate relief. It wasn't just a substance. It was a symbol of surrender. A tool that kept the mind sedated, the soul numb, and the will dormant. But here's the haunting truth. You don't need Soma when you have distractions. When social media floods you with dopamine. When dating apps eliminate rejection. When entertainment never lets you be alone with your thoughts. Everything around you is designed to remove effort, to soften the edges of life, to make discomfort optional or even obsolete. But when you remove discomfort, you also remove resilience. Pain serves a purpose. It teaches. It sharpens. It forces you to adapt and evolve. Without it, we become emotionally brittle. We crumble under minor stress. We avoid anything that doesn't offer immediate reward. So what looks like progress, a world without suffering, may actually be regression. Because every shortcut, every convenience, every little comfort chips away at something essential. The strength to face life as it is. A generation raised on instant gratification will struggle with real challenges. A society conditioned to escape pain will not know how to fight for anything meaningful. And in the end, those who fear suffering most will be the easiest to control. Not with violence, not with force, but with comfort. That's the silent trap. What we think is freedom, a life free of struggle, slowly turns into captivity. And worst of all, most will thank the system for it. We live in a time where even the slightest discomfort feels unbearable. A slow internet connection, a delayed reply, a canceled plan. Things that once wouldn't matter now feel like personal crises. But this sensitivity didn't arise by accident. It was cultivated. You've been trained to believe that any pain is a problem, that any delay in gratification is a failure, that every challenge must be avoided or outsourced. We are drowning in conveniences, entertainment on demand, food delivered in minutes, information available instantly, validation in the form of likes, views, comments. Each comfort is a silent message. You shouldn't have to try. You deserve to feel good now. You don't need to wait, grow, or suffer. And over time, that message becomes internalized. We've mistaken pleasure for power. But the reality is the opposite. Constant pleasure makes you weak. Pain teaches patience. Frustration trains discipline. Failure builds identity. But we've built a culture where the slightest inconvenience is pathologized, where people feel attacked by differing opinions, where emotional resilience is replaced by emotional fragility. We've traded growth for safety, effort for ease, meaning for numbness. And we are paying for it, silently, collectively. Look around. See the faces always staring at screens. See how people panic in silence when they're alone for too long. See how every moment of quiet is quickly filled with scrolling, swiping, watching, escaping. This is not just a distraction. This is conditioning. We've been taught that comfort is the goal, the reward. But in truth, it's the trap. Because when you make a society dependent on comfort, it becomes easy to predict and easier to control. A person who never experiences resistance becomes someone who doesn't know how to stand up, to push back, to walk through the fire when it's necessary. They conform, not because they're forced, but because it's easier, because it feels safer, because they were never taught how to endure. The most dangerous kind of control doesn't look like chains. It looks like pleasure. It feels like entertainment. It tastes like convenience. But underneath it all, there's a silent agreement. You give me comfort. I give up my strength. And slowly, that trade becomes permanent. A society built on constant pleasure will always be vulnerable, not to invasion, but to manipulation. Not to weapons, but to ideas it no longer knows how to question. If suffering disappears, so does transformation. If everything is easy, nothing is earned. And if all pain is eliminated, so is growth. The world may look more advanced, more progressive, more connected. But if we've lost the ability to endure, to sit with pain, to find meaning in struggle, then we've lost something far more important. We've lost ourselves. Ask yourself honestly, what are you really chasing in life? Is it happiness or meaning? Modern culture has trained us to believe that pleasure equals fulfillment, that the next hit of dopamine from a like, a message, a purchase, a bite, a scroll is what life is all about. But has it worked? You get the pleasure. Then what? It fades. And suddenly, you're empty again, chasing the next moment, the next distraction. This is not by accident. This cycle is engineered. We are fed a version of happiness that is always temporary. Fast, shallow, repeatable. It never asks you to dig deep. It only asks that you stay busy, distracted, entertained, consuming. And the truth is, most people have forgotten how to sit with themselves, how to think, how to reflect, how to suffer through something and emerge stronger. But let me ask you something powerful. When you think back to the most defining moments of your life, were they moments of ease and pleasure? Or were they moments of struggle, perseverance, and growth? Pleasure numbs. Purpose ignites. Viktor Frankl, a man who survived the unthinkable in Nazi concentration camps, said something unforgettable. Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. What does that mean? It means that purpose gives you power. Not just metaphorically, literally. Purpose rewires the brain, reorients your direction, and reclaims your autonomy from the algorithmic traps around you. But here's the catch. Purpose is not convenient. It requires effort. It demands sacrifice. It takes time. It asks you to sit with pain, to walk through fear, to reject what is easy in favor of what is right. And that makes it dangerous to systems built on your passivity. Because someone with purpose is not easy to manipulate. They don't need constant validation. They're not addicted to external approval. They're not afraid of discomfort. They've made friends with it. And so, we are flooded with distractions. We are told, again and again, you don't need meaning, just have fun. You don't need to think, just scroll. You don't need purpose, just consume. It's not just noise, it's control. And most people never question it, because questioning requires silence. Silence brings discomfort. Discomfort forces growth, and growth threatens the system. So if you feel like something is missing in your life, maybe it's not because you lack pleasure. Maybe it's because you lack meaning. Maybe you're not understimulated. Maybe you're overstimulated and underaligned with anything that actually matters. Ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped chasing what feels good and started building what feels true? Because that's what this is really about. Not more distractions, but more direction. Not more pleasure, but a deeper reason to keep going, even when it hurts. Now that you've seen the architecture of your own conditioning, the trap of dopamine, distractions, and digital pacifiers, the question becomes inescapable. How do you break free? Not hypothetically, not someday. Now, let's start with the uncomfortable truth. The system doesn't want you free. It wants you busy. It wants you dependent. It wants you numbed by pleasure and allergic to discomfort. So if you want to escape, you must first understand, this is war. A quiet war, fought not with weapons, but with algorithms, cravings, convenience, and your own laziness. But here's the hope. You can win. Let me show you how. Step 1. Strategic deprivation. You must learn to say no to the pleasures that enslave you. Not forever, but long enough to reclaim control. Turn off your notifications. Take a break from social media. Fast from ultra-processed food. Pause the endless consumption of meaningless entertainment. Why? Because deprivation resets the mind. It forces your brain to recalibrate, to stop expecting dopamine on demand, to rediscover the joy in simplicity, in silence, in being. This isn't about being a monk. It's about becoming a master of your mind, not a servant to your impulses. Step 2. Rebuild your tolerance for discomfort. Sit with boredom. Let it burn. Let it teach you something. Stop filling every silence with sound, every pause with scrolling. Instead, go for a walk without music. Eat without a screen. Think without distraction. It'll feel wrong at first. Your brain, addicted to spikes, will scream for stimulation. But that scream is proof you're doing something right. Stay with it. On the other side of discomfort is strength. Resilience is built in the absence of rescue. Step 3. Ask better questions. Why do you need to be entertained every second? Who profits from your addiction to comfort? What would your life look like if you were free from all this noise? You've been programmed. And only through critical thinking can you start to rewrite the code. Don't take things at face value. Interrogate your habits. Challenge your beliefs. Expose the roots of your reactions. Because once you start seeing clearly, manipulation loses its power. Step 4. Replace pleasure with purpose. You can't simply delete distractions. You must replace them. And the only replacement strong enough is meaning. Start small. What do you want to build? What legacy do you want to leave? What problem are you willing to suffer for? Your purpose doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be real. And once you find it, protect it with everything you've got. Because purpose gives pain a point. It gives discipline a direction. It turns sacrifice into fuel. But even as you rise, a new challenge will appear. The people around you. Because once you break free, you become a mirror. And most people don't like what they see reflected back. If you've come this far, something in you has already shifted. You've seen the gears behind the curtain. You now understand. This system doesn't need bars or guards to control you. All it needs is for you to keep chasing comfort, to avoid discomfort like it's death, to confuse pleasure for freedom. But now that you've woken up, the real question is, what will you do with this truth? Escaping the system isn't easy. It's not a weekend detox. It's a complete rewiring of your life. Because real freedom demands sacrifice. It means turning your back on the path everyone else calls normal. It means resisting the easy way and choosing the meaningful one, even if it's lonely, even if it's slow, even if no one understands. And that's the catch. Once you stop numbing yourself, once you start thinking, once you walk away from the noise, you begin to see. And when you see, you realize most people around you are still blind. They're still plugged in, still pacified by scrolling, binging, consuming. And suddenly, you don't belong anymore. Some will admire you. Some will resent you. Others will laugh or try to pull you back. Because your clarity is dangerous. You are no longer predictable. You can't be controlled by fear or offered fake freedom. You've become a mirror. And mirrors make people uncomfortable. They'll say, lighten up. Don't overthink it. Just enjoy life. But you'll know, that's not life. That's sedation. Because pleasure without purpose is just another cage. A velvet prison dressed as paradise. So now the choice is yours. You can stay plugged in. Keep chasing dopamine. Ignore the quiet voice inside you that says, something's not right. Or you can step into the discomfort. Ask the hard questions. Build something that actually matters. Live a life that's hard, yes, but real. So what will it be? Will you stay in the comfort zone? Or will you choose freedom, even if it hurts? Have you felt the weight of this trap in your own life? Have you seen how modern society uses pleasure to make us obedient? Leave a comment. Start the conversation, because questioning is the first step to freedom. And if this message woke something up in you, subscribe. This isn't just a channel. It's a resistance. Here, we don't seek comfort. We seek truth. And this is just the beginning.